Hey, good morning, lovelies. It is time for another Sketchy Saturday, and we have some awesome guests. And, well, MarV and I are pretty excited to talk to them. So let's run the intro and let's get going.
Yeah.
What up, lovelies? Oh my god. It is a wonderful Saturday. It is the start of my workcation. So I'm free from my side job for a couple of days. And then I got a gigantic fantasy festival that I'm going to be attending at the Writers Market. And I am looking forward to it. Not only that, but there's just so much going on right now in my life. It's insane. Part of it is this guy down here, but we'll get to that in a second. See, how has your week been?
It's been hot more than anything. But it's been productive. It's been productive.
Good.
So just banging out some art here and there, and
I wish I could say the same.
Well, yeah, but you're doing something that's going to help you and everybody else too. So,
oh, for sure. No, I'm very busy right now, and it may not be art, but you gotta enjoy when good things happen.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
You go right down here is an original gangster.
Oh yeah,
from the animation world. So, John, introduce yourself because holy crap, it's so good to have you, man.
Oh well, I'm honored, flattered very much so. I'm John Celestri. I've been a comic book artist and animator since the mid '70s. I've worked on a whole bunch of classic 2D animation that you don't see anymore, but basically, I'm most known for doing the original Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special, the animation for that. So I'm the first, Boba here, and worked on He-Man and She-Ra, worked on Dragon Space Ace, worked at Nelvana Studios on Rock and Rule, which is kind of an underground, classic.
Oh, yeah.
And done a lot of commercials and TV shows. And I'm doing my own comic books, Bloodwing Angel Chronicles, and so that's where I am.
Speaking of Bloodwing Angel, let me drop that link, guys, because John started his pre-launch page only a couple of days ago. So let's drop your email in there. Know when he goes live, because this comic is awesome. So let me take care of that. There we go. And Donna.
Okay.
Donna.
Now, Marv, how is your week?
There is crazy. Crazy, right. Things didn't work as well as we thought about but the book is already at Mixam, UK right now. We are getting the proofs done. Hopefully next week they will send them to Portugal, but unfortunately with Brexit, the books will stay probably between 2 or 3 weeks in customs. So let's hope for the best that in the couple of maybe 4 or 5 weeks I'll be able to make the print run. And show everybody.
That would be nice, yeah.
The comic Gabriel. Yeah, let's hope so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Also, good morning, Nick.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick.
Thank you. Swordmaster is here.
Right. So let me pull this one up for John because let's see a master at work.
Oh,
to the normal
You're going to
Oh,
see
yeah.
the top of my head now.
Like,
Okay, that's pretty much what you're going to see as I focus here. All right, I'm going to play around with this first. Just going to be doing. I'm going to use what? Okay. I always start playing around this way here, getting attitude with stuff with things. Let me put down another layer on top of that, and then let's see here. I'm going to show. I'm going to turn the light table on, and let's see. So, come on, what's going? Let me see here. Program. Okay, this one. I'm just going to draw.
I was muted.
Yeah.
That's all good, dude. Don't worry.
So, just as a play here, I'm gonna. I think about forms and attitude and just vectors more than just I don't think about being exact when I draw.
I do
just go,
exactly the same. Like
the
thing is like what works compared to what looks good.
Mhm.
And when you gotta draw a million pictures, one after the other.
Yeah, let me get that back here from you. I'm going to move back and forth in my mind here because I'm going from one window to another. So I'm just playing around just for a second. Let me go. Let me just get off this here, and I'm going to go on this one.
Good morning, Linda. Hope you're doing great today, honey. Always good to see you.
Hey, babe.
There are very few wives as supportive as Linda, and we should very much appreciate all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me make.
Okay, so now we're going to go into. And that's 2 here. And then I'm just going to do a squash and stretch thing here. And just going to run this. I'm just looping it.
Yeah, but it doesn't take much.
No,
But
it doesn't take much. Basically, it's all it's the form and forces, and all you're trying to do is get an emotion, any kind of energy. And once you do that, then you lay down material on top of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The form and forces are completely different. Layers, design are influenced by the forces inside.
Yes, that's definitely something that I'm finding as well with the Love on Coral Pilot. Like, it's just so much fun to see even basic animatics come to life. With the first couple of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me open the compilation scenes.
Let me ask you, John. You do the same thing when you're laying out your sequential art?
Oh yeah.
Just get that emotion in there and then come back over it. And...
Oh yeah. Well, it's drawing.
Right.
But see there's the element that people have to understand is that when you're drawing, you're still having to play with laying out a beginning and middle and end to your page.
Right.
Yeah.
And so sequentially, you don't have to have, you have to understand, what there in animation, there's anticipation, action, and reaction. And so you say, tell the viewer what you're going to do it, and then remind the viewer what you've just done.
Yeah, no, that's
and like with everything, but make sure. And the secret is of not, it's not a secret, but rather if you intertwine, many different ideas, as long as you're simple ideas, as long as when you do your anticipation, action, reaction, then you're setting up for the next anticipation into the next thing. So therefore, that's how it blends together in a way that it's seamless. It's not abrupt. So the same way with doing my panels, if you look at them, they're more they are more like a storyboard.
Yeah, no, that's something that I immediately noticed when reading the first books. Like it was, the dialogue really flowed with the expressions, but every single expression was the most powerful one in the entire dialogue.
Yes. And it's not a matter of just opening your mouth and closing and having something, in the balloon. What you're doing is I'm keying the dialogue. Every basic line of dialogue has a story drawing.
Yes.
And it is basically it's your eyes and attitude of head and body language. If you can do that, then you're telling the story without the dialogue. And the only dialogue is necessary is what the person can't project, with the physical form.
Speaking of that, so here's the first minute of animatic.
Yeah.
Like there are some things more animated, some less, but it gets the point across. But I would really love your feedback on this.
Yeah, show it.
So yeah, there's no dialogue in there.
Right.
I'm still waiting on voice actors. Nita, Daphne, get on it. But like I think I got the pacing right, for the big part.
Well, basically, right now, what I see as an animatic, this is your starting point.
Yeah.
You will find that as you actually get your dialogue together, you'll start pacing the dialogue. Sometimes the dialogue will force you to pace the scene a certain way, and other times, it's really not the most important thing. It's not so much exposition. Like exposition, is secondary to what you're doing visually.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But if you're acting with the you're getting the energy from the actors, then you have to really pace. They're controlling what you're doing. Yes. Or sometimes what you're doing is playing against sometimes you play against what you're hearing, and it really depends. But that's a little more involved than just a first time. But but basically that's what you're doing right now. You're hitting guideposts.
Yes.
And that is the most important thing. And mostly, the congratulatory aspect here is you have accomplished that. Most people cannot finish, a little section.
Oh no, for sure.
That's a very important thing to be able to do. And you're going to look through this, and you're going to see when you start getting your dialogue, and you'll find that, well, I need, like for example, you've got, if you have characters in the bottom part of this section here. Can you see that here? Does my arrow work here?
Uh,
Can you see my pointer going?
no.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
There it is. Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't on the program, therefore it didn't show up.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if there's. Let me play around a little bit here so that I can see. I need to get you guys in here so that I can see both your heads and my screen at the same time. Okay. Now I can do that. Now it's a lot easier. Sometimes you'll have. Let's do this with a thing here. Sometimes you'll have characters here, okay, in the screen, okay, and then they're talking about things that are happening in this section here, okay.
Yeah.
Now depends. What's the focus? I mean, sometimes you'll start up here, and this is the thing about this grid that I'm showing you. That's the traditional. Let me enlarge the screen a little bit here.
Yeah, no. We can see it really well. Like the grid really shows up.
Yeah,
So,
and what it is basically it's a traditional grid. I mean, for example, here.
It's divided in fours
here,
rather more.
That is the traditional
animated
thing from TV. This goes back to before widescreen or anything like that. So that's
this is 4:3 rather than 16:9.
Yeah, and these grids here allows you to placement of the camera and move from one area to another.
I gotta get that in CSP. That is so useful.
Yeah. I don't know where other things happen, but this is analog technology. That's why I liked Toon Boom Studio, because it had this. I don't remember. You can lay it down on other programs, but now you see what happens here. This is a widescreen.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to make sure it's on both.
It goes in through this, so this allows you to see. Okay. This is what we've got. So now we now see that you've got 4 quadrants, so you know how to place around there. Sometimes you'll start when it's let's say here's your center point here for the framing, and then you're gonna pan out to that much there, and that way how far you're going to go.
Yeah.
And so, but you'll see that if you start with a this here, and then you pan out here, then you can see what they're talking about. Or are you starting here talking about that? There's a voiceover, and then you want to pull out there to incorporate them. That's all playing around with, but what you do first is see what the whole setup is. What's your master shot?
Yes. And funnily, I have had to make so many rough new backgrounds just to get the entire scene right. Not that one. So This is scene 3.3. So let me add that to the stream. So this is the entire background to all the folks at home.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's, a little bit of perspective because I love my perspectives. Let me open the actual scene. So here we go. Let me play that. Yeah, it's going to be slow because it's rendering. Sorry, guys. But
No, it's okay.
It gets the point across. So, the background moves, so I had to make it gigantic compared to what is actually shown in the picture.
Well, yes. Yeah. And that's in analog, we didn't have, we would have 24 field.
Yeah.
So that would be a huge background.
Yes.
Okay. 16 field, 12 field is what we had, usually would work for TV. And the TV would, in the old days, you had to frame everything to take into account the curvature of the screen, the TV screen, and there would be cutoff. So
wow.
It's safety.
Yeah.
And so you had to make sure that anything that you wanted to do had to be within the safe area, within TV cutoff. And TV cutoff would be, maybe, 20% all around.
Yeah.
Because you had a tube, and that was going and was projecting. You were receiving all the imagery within the tube, but that tube was encased in, a wooden frame, and the cabinetry. There was a lot that you had to think about.
And then you got to overdraw because that's how it works.
Yep.
And the whole thing. So yeah, no, and that's the fun thing. Like, I like those little details. Like, I love talking about, the intricacies of doing everything like that. Because right now, you can just jump into Clip Studio and you animate.
Yeah.
For the most part.
And the thing about animating anything, is to make sure that you've got a plan.
Yes.
And thumbnailing, storyboarding, all of that is important and necessary to get across where you're going and what you're doing. I'm going to jump around here and there. When you're planning out your colors for animation, for anything, do you use a color chart in terms of there's a color key for a show? When we did this, when we would do TV specials, you do a color key from beginning to end, and you could say, we're starting. I'll do this really. It may start with colors that much. Oh, sorry. That would be
I'm
like
starting
that.
to get an echo from somewhere.
What?
I don't know. It's not you, John, because it's coming after you. So
okay,
Might be
you're okay with me now? Still?
yeah, I think it was just C having a little issue.
Oh, okay.
So
So
doing it now?
No, it's gone.
Oh.
anyway,
It
so
happens.
if you're starting with calm, and you're going to there, you'd have a whole range of different colors that, how is that going to play in with each sequence?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And we would have what would be the dominant colors in each sequence, so we know what emotionally we were trying to get across.
Yes.
And that's something that's something that you had to plan for, for a show, and like anything. That's art direction.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when you're playing around like that in comic books, you could do the same thing, but that means that you can't throw all the colors in a comic the way colors are done. And I think that's one of the biggest problems I have with coloring of comics today.
I can get behind that. Yeah. I mean, for Lage it's a little simpler because it's all easy colors. Like there's no red, yellow, or orange in the entire comic. Like that is one of the world rules.
Okay.
So it makes it a little easier for me because I have my biggest color spectrum within green and blue.
Right.
But it makes it awful for my colorist because she's like, but this scene would be perfect in orange considering the emotion. And I'm like, nope, not allowed. You found it.
Well, in a similar vein, in Blood with my comic with Bloodwing Angel, there is a lot of gray tone that I use. And originally it was a black and white comic on the web, and I was just doing all gray tones. Then when I decided to do as a print comic, I said, well, I can't do that. So I started coloring characters and certain bits here and there. And so therefore you've got this popping of the characters against a gray tone world.
Yeah.
And then I started playing around with it differently as I got past issue 1 and started to get into book 2. There was a bit more color in it, but I still will have certain backgrounds will be gray tone because of the feeling of grittiness that I want.
Well, it really fits. Like you have these bright characters, especially the bad guy woman in the first one.
Yeah.
With the strong purples.
Yes.
Against a gritty gray city. Like you instantly know that is a bad guy.
Yeah.
And like that is very great use of colors and using emotion for colors. That a lot of people underestimate nowadays.
Well,
like it is a simplicity that way too many people forget.
Yeah. Well, that I'm using the a limited palette of maybe 35 colors,
which is very small.
Yes, but the thing about it is that you don't need more than that. This goes back to the animation, my animation background, which was you used as few colors because you had to mix the paints.
Yeah.
And so therefore you would then play what colors really worked best against backgrounds that are a little more muted, because that's how it would appear on the screen. You want the characters to pop and not get lost. And then also you're painting the characters. So, if you've got 5 different characters, well, you can only, mix so many different tonalities, lost.
Yeah.
So, you'll do maybe, I think there are variations would be like a 3, variations per color.
Yeah.
So, then of your primaries, and then you can kind of mix them after that a bit. But basically, for ink on a comic book, back in the old days, you're pressing ink, and you can only get so much tonality. And even now, okay, so you get different hues and whatnot with digital, printing, but to what extent? What pops anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. That's what is it? The 4-color method that they use?
CMYK. Yeah.
Yeah. And just the basics. You didn't need all this, and a lot of the shading and everything was based on the inker and the pencil.
Yeah.
Now we have so many comics and whatnot that are dependent on the colors to convey that. and it gets kind of muddy after a while.
No, it really does. And here's the problem too, right, with CMYK, because that is now the standard, which makes sense. You can essentially, quote unquote, make every single color in the spectrum.
Right.
But CMYK does have its flaws. And as long as we are putting ink to paper, we are pulling light away from that paper. So on the screen, it may look fantastic, but then you flip it over and you're pulling light away from that white. And suddenly, you know, it's going to be darker, it's going to be muddier, and you're going to miss tones that are literally unavailable in ink unless you variate the base inks that you're using, which most printers don't know how to do anymore.
Right. Yes. This is not like it's not like the German presses of 1900 that could do color for newspaper. You know, that's the thing about the comic books, the comic section of the newspapers, at least here in the States. They would, I mean, those things are works of. Look at the Little Nemo, the Winsor McCay pages of 1910. That's, you know, enormous. You know, that's what people are trying to do today, trying to get all kinds of variations, but you don't even have the territory, the canvas to put that on.
No, like you don't have the canvas, but not only that, you don't have anyone able to mix inks and be as experimental as they were back then. Like back in the day, I don't use any red, orange, or yellow in my comics. So instead of CMYK, I'm going to use cyan, magenta, and violet as my base colors. You know, if I would put that to my printer, they're gonna laugh their asses off, and they would be like, "How? You know, how would we be able to mix that?" And that is something that is completely missing. And unless you really have a good standing with your printer, and they have been going for the last 100 years, and there's an old guy in the back that knows exactly what he's talking about, you're not getting your stuff.
Yeah. So you've got an old guy in the back where your printer is, and that's what he's doing?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I'm still using the CMYK, sadly. But there's very little Y in there.
Okay. Well, and so you don't need to. I mean, you know, basically because, you know, you're doing it digitally, and you're creating it's the computer that's being the old guy, you know, mixing the thing. But it really depends upon what kind of paper you're printing it on, how much absorption is going to happen, what kind of feedback you're going to get.
For sure.
You know, in terms of how it's going to, what kind of gloss and how that's going to work.
We're talking everything Colors Whitefire comics, but yes. Just generally, like, compared to what printers would do to get a certain type of quality to their comics compared to what they're able to do now with the standard of CMYK, it's a whole different world because of it.
Oh yeah, and I mean, just as the tools that we have are different from what the tools of maybe 50 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. So we're dealing with that as a challenge. I'm just going to be doing this right now so that I can get some drawing up here. Do a little drawings here. It's a very interesting. I remember learning to draw for reproduction using. Actually, my first drawings were in hot type.
Oh,
We're talking about in the 1960s. I was doing some sports cartoons for my college paper, and they used hot type. I mean, so the line work had to show up, and you couldn't be too crazy because it was still black and white. It was ink press
yeah.
on paper, and so you really had to draw large, but understand that if you drew the lines too thin and you didn't have enough space in between the line, when you reduced it, it would just be a bloody mess.
Yep.
Or it wouldn't show up at all.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that. But
Yeah.
Well, but you see that, so I'm coming in and looking with computers and saying, wow, there is so much that you can do, and I can get
Yes.
so much in there. But you know what? What happens is that you overdraw because you
yes. Exactly. Like that has definitely been a pitfall of mine when I started digital art in general. Like you start zooming in and zooming in and zooming in, and then you zoom out and you're like, I don't even see it.
Yeah.
and that's the thing is that your situation is that you don't see you've zooming into something, but people are not going to see it. They're not even going to feel it. They're just going to say, I'm confused.
Yeah.
That
is actually why I very quickly changed back to traditional inks, because it just limited myself in such a way where it became easier for me to understand what was actually going to be on the actual work.
Well, and that's the thing that you're going to, it's all experimental until you understand what kind of palette or what your world is going to be about that you're drawing and you're working with. I'm just.
Yeah, I know. Distractions.
Yeah,
drawing and talking is hard.
Yeah, drawing is. And I was never good at that.
No, me neither. Don't worry.
It's kind of like, okay, where are we? What am I saying here?
Words? What? Those exist.
Yeah.
So do you have any suggestions on books or anything that were helpful in learning animation or?
Oh, well, when I started, there were no, there was hardly anything.
Yeah.
I'm learning at talk about 19. I didn't get started in learning animation until I was about 24 years old. So it was 1973.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I
feel young.
Yeah, I'm self-taught as an artist. My university, in college classes were more in lines of. I started off wanting to be or trying to be an architect, and that didn't work out. I couldn't see doing bathrooms. Then I was at Pratt Institute for one year, then switched over to Fordham University as a math major, and then that didn't work out for me. And finally, I went through a number of different things and then got into communication arts. So that's where I got into. It's interesting, but art. I didn't get into animation until I always wanted to be a comic book artist. As a kid. But to answer your question, I didn't really. My best artwork, or the what we had to work with, was the Preston Blair's animation book. You know,
Okay.
I don't know if you must have seen that book. See,
What's the name of it again?
the Preston Blair book. Let
I recognize the name. Yeah, I might.
hold on a second. Let me just drag this out.
There we go. It is on Amazon, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually in my in my cart to eventually get
Okay, so you got when we had it, it was when I worked on it or I got it. It was just the smaller book. That other animation book, the new one, is a combination of both books that he finally did.
Oh.
Okay.
The first one was really simple, had all the basics, and that was for like 20 years it went. He did it back in the 1940s, and then somewhere in 1979 or something came out with a second book, which was a bit more complex. And so I had the first book, and then I had the Nicolaides book on how to draw the natural way of drawing. Have you seen that one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Let me look it up.
Look,
A lot of these I got to see this cover really.
Flavor.
I'm horrible with remembering names.
I got that. I got that book because it was recommended to me by my first boss, Seamus Culhane. Seamus Culhane was one of the original old school animators, directors from the 1920s and 30s and 40s. He was at Disney's animating on the Seven Dwarfs. He did a lot of commercials. He was directing at Walter Lantz on Woody the Woodpecker. He was at Terry Toons. He had a commercial.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
So he did all kinds of things. But he was the one who said, "Okay, here, boy, Johnny." I mean, you were talking. He was from. He grew up in Hell's Kitchen, so he's kind of like, a really old school guy. But he said, "Here, this will be your best book. Learn this way, and you can be able to see." So the quick sketch, what you just saw there, I practiced just laying down stuff
Like this.
Yeah.
Like literally just
doing that. Yes, and the thing about it is you're doing the same exact thing. And with Nicolaides is just drawing as fast as you can, 50-second sketches, 20-second sketches, and just
with these two,
get down the actual form and attitude.
Like it's just to like the thumbnails too. They are so simple. They're just to get the point across.
Right.
And that's what I'm really containing myself to. I go a little more elaborated on the backgrounds because that's my happy place.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
For the most part, like what you're seeing here, I literally translate to the animatic. That's it.
Right. Yes.
Like I don't need more right now. Like,
No, you don't. No, you absolutely don't need any more than that, because all you're doing is placement of shapes and camera direction and just movement of from one thing to another. And that way, as long as you understand what it is, that's all that matters.
Right.
Stage.
Yeah. Like, I don't have to share with anyone, therefore it doesn't have to be pretty.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
If you can't read your own handwriting, then you should slow down a little bit and just really
just a tiny bit. Yeah. That's me trying to read 5-year-old me.
It's guilty. Guilty. I've done that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What is this?
A note from when?
That's right. The thumbnails. Yes.
Yes.
And post-it notes. that's how you
Tons of them.
post tons of them, and you don't even have to just write several words on that post-it note and say such and such. This is what I'm looking for. I mean, if you don't know what it is that you want
got
to
'em right
draw, if you can't verbally describe it or at least give you the emotion and feeling, that's all you need. Then you don't know what you're going to draw. You're just going to be wandering around the page.
Right.
And that's definitely something that a lot of people are struggling with nowadays. Don't overcomplicate.
No. Well, So we can get back to like coloring. Is, for example, in comic books, I found that I really like the 1940s coloring, but I also like the 1950s coloring, and particularly I like the 1960, 1950s, the Jack Kirby and Joe Simon color palette, where you can use purple for your concrete sidewalk.
So,
It's a bit more expressionistic. The same way with the oh geez, I gotta grab this. Hold on.
no worries. But yeah,
well, the more you get into drawing, the more you learn about drawing, the more you realize how much you have to think about what you're going to put down on paper.
Yeah,
it's not just
there we go. Hold on, let me do exit solo layout and then.
Okay. Oh, so here's you got the rawhide kit. I really enjoyed them, but look at this coloring.
Yeah.
You just on these 2 pages alone. Look at the difference between you're framing the rawhide kid with your primary colors.
Yes.
Yet the story is telling it, and it's not cartoony and childish. It's just not trying to be, totally. What's the word? You're not trying to, copy photography.
No.
Right.
You're just, giving yourself impression, and this is what I enjoy because it allows me to it gives me a freedom to use color purely for expression.
Yes.
Emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you like, especially with that kind of coloring, you might very much enjoy the New Adventures of Lucky Luke.
Oh yes, I've just ordered 2 albums. Well, I've got the old. I'm the whatever.
No, but I'm talking the cartoon here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there's a cartoon of the New Adventures of Lucky Luke.
Okay.
And they are using very traditional emotion based coloring in their animation. So that and My Life as a Teenage Robot, both of them are very underrated. Well, My Life as a Teenage Robot, not so much. It's a very much loved series, but The New Adventures of Lucky Luke is definitely one that you would like to check out in that case if you like that kind of. It's early 2000s, a little cheap animation, but their color work is so spot on when it comes to emotional work that it's really fun to watch.
Well, okay. Now here's where it's been such a long time since I've really looked at cartoons in terms of animation. Okay, but was it purely a European production where you were seeing what in terms of broadcast, or
I think so. Maybe French Canada. Let me check it out.
See, I don't have. I mean, unless they have it on YouTube or what have you, I have no way of accessing that.
Oh no, they're on YouTube. They are mostly on YouTube.
Okay.
And let me check out the Wikipedia.
I know My Life as a Teenage Robot was a Nickelodeon cartoon, so it was around. It's been some years now.
It has a 50s look when it comes to art, with the futuristic kind of art style, and then very basic primary colors to really convey the movement and everything. It's one of the best shows. And let's see, Franco-Belgian. Where is it created from? Created by Morris, directed by I want the it's French Canadian. The New Adventures of Lucky Luke. But there's quite a few episodes on YouTube, and all of them are on wcofun.com, where you can get them for free together with literally everything on cartoon related on the internet. So, yeah, keep that one in mind, kids. If you don't want to give to the mouse, that's where you go.
Yeah, I really don't like mouse.
No,
the mouse, not MAUS.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I 100% behind you.
Yeah.
So here, I'm gonna have to. Okay, let me.
Do we still have time to talk a little bit about rotoscope? Because that's a technique that
Yeah, we've only been
really
going for
want to
50
learn.
minutes, and I'm pretty sure with the 4 people here right now, we can totally fill up an entire 2 hours, no problem.
Rotoscope, it depends on what you're using it for. If it's for a guide and for study is one thing. If you're tracing, I'm not your guy.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw the behind the scenes of Fire and Ice, and I really enjoyed the animations from Filmation.
Right.
Basically, is my favorite style. I really love that style, the Tarzan, the He-Man, and all those great stuff from the 80s. And I was thinking about for my next comic, making a trailer with that technique. So I would like to know your opinion on how should I start about rotoscoping, and what do you think I should be doing for my first work?
Oh, well, when you do rotoscoping, basically, if you're using it as a reference, then basically you need to be you could do a video, set it up properly for the camera angle that you want it to be at, and then do the acting as best you can, and then let's look at it that way. What you need to be able to understand is if you're talking animation or you're talking about using it for print.
Animation, yes.
Okay, for animation. The way I used, and this is where the traditional way would be for the best. I mean, you could use rotoscoping to pull out key poses, and then understand what the timing is and see from one place to another. But the thing about it is that you can have a certain amount of time, but you could also use posing and then change the timing, unless you're really locked into dialogue. Okay. If you're not locked into dialogue, then you poses to enable you to go even more broader, because when you're animating, basically what happens is, I'm going to pantomime this here. Okay, you've got this, and you're going to go, and you're going to really push, but then you're going to pull back. You have extremes, and then you come right back, and you're only talking about a couple of frames here and there where you pop something, and then you as an emphasis, and you can have great control of that. You don't have to have text-avery, wide, bug-eyed stuff, but you can go,
Yeah.
you know, and that kind of thing just is really, it really plays, you know, just arching the eyebrows like that as an emphasis of, instead of saying, oh, what time is it? You could say, what time is it? And then suddenly the face has more energy, you know, and it's still subtle. So, but it takes a lot of effort, and you know, you have to learn a lot of, and all, the best thing to do is just do a 3. Yeah.
Like this, for example,
Yeah,
right?
okay, look at look. Okay, I'll say one thing is that there's the reference, so they can understand the mechanics of doing something and being able to then take that and go further with it. That's the whole idea, is to go further.
Right.
Otherwise, it's motion capture. And if you look at the difference here, even though they're pretty much in sync and all of that's happening, there is a different feeling and more gracefulness to the animation, because you can further. You can hold it better. You know, don't get locked into motion capture.
It's the difference between using, you know, the tool available to you and copy pasting.
Yeah.
Like every single thing that you're going to use. Rotoscoping is a great tool that has helped animators for the last 80 years, more, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah, maybe around. Yeah.
I mean, you have the Lord of the Rings rotoscope, and you have Snow White. And both have their strong points, but you can see where the animators took their liberty, and you can and Snow White really excelled in that because of it.
Yeah. And you with Night on Bald Mountain, for example, in Fantasia, there was you could see where there was some, you know, a feeling of energy, but there was no rotoscoping. It's references. You know, you don't, at a certain point in your understanding of animation classically, it's like motion theory as the same as music theory.
Yes.
If you are able to understand timing, and by that I'm going to put a little chart here. If you're able to understand your timing and go from this pose 1 and pose 13, and that is a frame. You're going from frame 1 to frame 13, and you're understanding that I'm going to ease out, and there's a midpoint. This is mechanical, but we'll go through this here. You know, you've got a midpoint of 7 drawing there, okay? But then you're going to slow. You're going to pop out these frames to here, and then you're going to go. You're going to ease in, and you're going to see this 5 drawing is not. There's no movement. You're just really slowing down to here, and then you're going to pop here in different timings. Instead of being a half and half, you're going to go from there to a third, to, you know, a third, and then you're going to slow in like that. There, right now, you're looking at notes on your motion notes as the same way that you would have playing a piece, a staff of music.
Yes. So
that's
I actually have an example for that.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
So this is literally the first animation I did, but if you look at the timeline, it's all 2s except for the exact center where it's 3s, because I wanted the frame to hold that.
Yes.
There you go.
Very right, and that's the thing, is that you don't have to do it all on 1s. You could do it 1s, 2s, 3s, even 4s, depending upon how much distance you have and what is it that you want to convey.
Yes.
What kind of energy do you want? And that way, you can have different characters moving at different styles of movement.
Yes.
One of the hardest things for people to understand is that when you are going from point A to point B, there's a stop. There is when you change direction, you have to momentarily stop and freeze and then move. And people don't forget. People just keep drawing and putting in all the in betweens as possible. I mean, video is at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
Well, why?
Yeah. No, like 24 frames is what your eye sees.
Yes.
30 frames is what television usually runs at nowadays.
Right.
30 frames is more than your eye can handle, but it actually helps slowing down the speed of the whole thing.
Right.
60 frames is literally unable for your eyes to keep up.
Right.
The only reason that screens are 60 hertz is because it's either 50 or 60 hertz, because that is how the electricity net works.
Okay.
And using the best of your ability from the net, so you never touch the 0 point when visualizing. So you can never have a blind point on your screen, which your eyes won't see, but it could happen.
Right.
But our eyes don't care.
Right.
We can fill in gaps.
Yes.
That is why you can do 2, 3, 4.
That's the basic of retention of vision, where your eyes are you no longer see the blink. TV or motion pictures, you don't see the frames in the panels in between the frames as it's flickering in front of you, because because it's going by so fast. Your eyes do not see it; they just see that big piece, and then then you see the next one. So that's the retention of vision. That why 24 frames per second is perfect, but it's also 24 frames per second was the slowest speed that sound could be recorded at, and it had to run at that frame. Otherwise it would just it just wouldn't pick up the same way. So that's where the 24 frames per second came into. But it's all information and stuff that you can use to do your creations and tell your story.
Yeah. I gotta work on that. I gotta know as much as I can.
Yeah. Whatever you do, MarV, whatever you do with your art, whatever you're wanting to do for rotoscope, make it it's your research tool.
Yes.
It is not your coach. Otherwise, you can no longer, you won't develop that muscle. When I was all my animation, I think there was only a handful of times I used rotoscope, and only because I was forced to follow exactly what the director wanted, and that's a pain in the ass because it never looked good anyway.
No.
I mean,
no.
The best animation has always been without rotoscope. No matter how natural the movement was, is because of the timing. And if you understand timing and placement of forms and also gestures, then you understand how to animate. You are the person doing the performance, and your pencil is just, it's just an extension of yourself.
It's funny. Like yesterday, I rewatched The Thief and the Cobbler because we were talking about it earlier this week. And I found a completely put together cut of the entire movie. So not the one that you could see in the theaters or got published to DVD and everything. No, a complete 1.5 hour movie.
Right.
And they had to cut this together with found footage.
Yes.
So you had animatics, you had literally 35 millimeter, tiny cuts that were just resized to look awful.
Yeah.
And at every single stage, whether it was the finalized high definition version from the DVD that they pulled from, or just the basic black and white, rough animations, at every single point you could see that there went so much thought into every single little thing of it. Like every step mattered.
Yes.
And it was an inspiration. Wow. Like, holy crap. That is something people have to watch if they want to get into animation, because you get to see every single step of animation in that cut. And wow.
Yeah.
There's and that's it's hard to actually explain what the whole process production wise is, and I would say a shorter version of that would be the video that we did at Nelvana to promote, to do the making of Devil and Daniel Mouse. It's 24 minutes long. It was a CBC production, and it was released in 1978, and it's on YouTube, and it shows us as a staff. I mean, we were all. Let's see. The oldest person there was in that studio at the time was maybe Clive Smith, as being he would be about 32 years old.
Oh wow.
I'm 27 years old, and I was one of the older ones there,
wow.
And so, but it was a very much of a rock and roll studio. I mean, everybody was either an artist or a musician or what have you, and we were all very much very, very young, doing stuff that who knows what we were in a fish warehouse. That's where the studio was.
That is awesome.
But anyway, the point I was trying to say is that it was a CBC production, and it went from the first story, the idea of the story, all the way to final cut and the various stages that you went, showing people painting, showing people doing the backgrounds, some people doing the storyboards, getting direction from Clive Smith, from the director, and then also animating on paper and whatnot, and then doing acting and whatnot. So you could actually see the whole line from beginning to end, how it went, and it's really a garage band. It's like a garage band. But it's all there, so. But all of this material is great on the internet because you get to see it all. You can.
Yes.
You have to. If you don't partake of the information, then basically you don't understand the power of the internet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the right information. Don't just get, stupid stuff.
No, like literally, you can find anything about everything right now.
Yeah.
With the click of a button. Get on it. If you want to learn something, this is literally the moment in your life that you can start and get it done. And you're going to be able to find literally everything about it.
Oh yeah, this is a renaissance, really.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And that just for learning, for producing, for getting out there and using. I mean, it's open wide now. It's not.
I'm seeing 12-year-olds right now on Tapas and Webtoons making things that were beyond my reach when I was that age. And I'm only 29. Well, I'm turning 29 in 25 days.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like literally, like 15 years ago, I would not be able to do what kids are able to do now. And I grew up on Google. Google was introduced in the Netherlands, when I was in like 6th grade. Like, I was the first person in my street to have a computer at home. Like, it's with internet. Okay, fair enough. With internet. Like, it's and yeah, if you make use of that, like very early on, when I was 14, I was like, I would like to design games. What can I do with it? So I looked up game design, game making software. Found Game Maker. I made games for 5 years. They suck, but I did it because I could.
Yeah.
I wanted to make comics. I went down the rabbit hole of making comics. I wanted to write stories. What do I know about stories? Well, here's a million essays about it.
Yeah. And basically, learning, when you have a teacher, you are going to get their point of view of what the information is, right? But you have to, as an artist, you can have the understanding of what it's all about, but it's your ability to take those basic elements and do something with it.
Yes.
So, copying is good because it gives you a starting point. But then you have to say, why did that person make that choice? If you can analyze the piece, then you can say, okay, I understand why they did that. Then you could say, I would do it differently, but you're still taking the basic elements of understanding what the process is and what the rules are. I mean, there are rules as to why one thing works and something else doesn't. And that's you can bend the rules, but at some point, if you go against the rule and you say, well, I'm not getting a response, but I just want to break the rules. Well, then, okay, then you're doing it for yourself. It's not, you're not communicating to anybody else.
Right. I think we get lost. A lot of people that you see coming into just the industry, drawing anything, animation, whatever, they're worried about what they want to get across instead of actually trying to get what they're trying to say across.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I am seeing a lot of younger webcomic creators, and I'm in a lot of webcomic communities because they're more fun to hang out with. I'm in a lot of voice calls with them. Usually the more serious ones, because I'm so done with the 12-year-olds that have the biggest ideas. But, I'm a writer, so I totally know what I'm talking about. Those kinds of kids, whatever, I don't care. Like, you do you, like, comics are easy. No, they are not. But what I find is, like, when with the scroll format, like, it's a new medium. But it has been established and invented. And what I'm finding, with comics from 10 years, the web comics from 10 years ago using the scroll format versus now, is that their whole usage of that whole medium is shifting to accommodate that entirely, to the point where they wouldn't be able to be translated back into page format. And that's fine. Like, they're not going for page format, and that's never their intention. But you find that the medium is so different at this point that switching them around is literally becoming impossible, because they're bending that medium to its extremes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but do you here's the thing. Sometimes you say, okay, I want something to work in all direction, but you're not, because if, as you say, you're developing a different format. Well, then, so I mean, that's it just doesn't work. I mean, I understand the scrolling, and it's kind of like writing on a scroll, okay?
Yes.
And so if you're going to write on a scroll, it allows you've got such a huge canvas that you will never be able to cut it up. If you make use of that canvas to its extreme, to its fullest, well, then it's not meant for any place else.
No. And that's fine, but like looking at 10 years ago, you had square panels, essentially, maybe a little taller, smaller, depending. Right. And the same kind of way that all text bubbles are in the frame in traditional comics, they would have the same. Now, what you're finding is that you have gigantic, tall panels that have really slow moving backgrounds, that you can really scroll down and feast your eyes on, because it's layer upon layer upon layer, like you would in animation. Like, one gigantic vertical scroll, like early Monty Python intros.
Yeah.
And it just and it works because they found what works in that medium. But you would never be able to get that into a comic page,
right?
Or it would have to be a fold out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Kind of the fold out.
Yeah. But good luck finding a printer and being able to afford it if you print it like that.
Yeah, I mean, the closest I could think of would be if you had a 32-page book, but it was an accordion.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Like
I mean, that's
like that, and then you have that, you come to that, and then you go. You start with your front cover, work your way up there, flip it over, work your way down to the end, and then
it would be cool though. I would totally buy that.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that is the closest thing that you're going to get in printed media. But you know what? Boy, is that expensive, right?
Yes. Oh my God, I don't even want to consider it. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of stuff couldn't be as experimental just because of that expense.
Yes.
Can you imagine if there was no expense, you could do anything at no expense and anything? There'd be so much experimentation and everything now. But
yes.
But the folding process is a real bugger because you are still literally. Here's the thing: you're limited then by the area of your fold, because you don't like having a fold in the middle of a dynamic scene.
Right. Yeah. Kind of like a spread on a comic.
But here's the thing: a lot of webcomics nowadays do have that. They have their breaks.
Right.
So they would work in that kind of format. And I would love to see a printer that would actually take that on as a challenge. Like that would be really cool.
Well, you'd have to have your own little print shop, and sponsor your own little experimental printings and what have you.
Good luck, have fun. I don't have those funds. I do not want a printing press in my living room.
I got to ask you, locally. I mean, because I don't know where you. I mean, I don't know what town you're in or where you're located.
I'm pretty much. So here's how I explain where I live.
Yeah.
You have Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, you have a little ward that is called Zaandam. And on the very, very top of that, there is a little pimple, and that is called Krommenie, and that's where I am.
Okay.
In the pimple.
In the pimple, that's right.
Okay, so you're in a town, right? I mean, that's a town. Okay, and so you're working with a printer, a particular printer who's there with your work.
Well, it's not local. I mean, the Netherlands is literally 2.5 hours to get across a border or drive into the sea.
Okay.
So, I'm using a printer here in the Netherlands that allows for offset printing for at least like 500 copies minimum,
Right.
but it breaks down the price so much that it's really doable for me compared to any type of digital printing.
Right. That's interesting. I mean, offset. I mean, that's a great thing. What kind of paper are you using? You're using
I have to change.
or-
Let me see, 135 GSM2 copies. So I'm only 50, only 36 pound. That doesn't sound right. Comparison chart. Let me check that out. 135. Yeah, 90 pound paper.
Okay.
And then for the cover, let me look that one up. 170 pound paper.
So yeah, that's pretty substantial paper that you've got there. Is it a gloss or is it a matte?
No, I go for matte because I tried gloss on one of my proofs, and the type just shined shone so badly that it was impossible to show it off on a screen or anything. And the matte really brings out the color more than the shine. So that's why I went for matte. And yeah, it's working. Just I'm starting to look into different printers because there are mistakes that they're starting to make that are, literally just changing the machine a tiny bit.
Okay.
Like for Loughran Quarter 5, I had these tiny vertical stripes down the length of the paper on pretty much every single page, which means that something went wrong.
Yeah.
And like those tiny mistakes where I'm like, guys, really? So I did a second print run for that one. And I haven't had a problem with them before or since, but it is to the point where I'm like, okay, if this happens again, I'm pretty much, financially ruined. Like that is not a cheap second print run, even if I get the first one 50% off.
Right. Yeah.
So, oh, that's not good at all.
No. On the other hand, I have 1,000 copies that I can sell of Loughran Quarter 5 right now. Because they are good enough for conventions. Like they're readable, but as someone who wants to bring out the best product, especially for their backers on crowdfunding, that is a standard that is too low for me.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I know that the printer I'm using here in Rochester, rather in the States, I'm using a one out of Rochester, the same one that JD and and Daphne use for their books, and they're
there's good quality books. Yeah.
Yes. They are they are really close to what I'm printing essentially.
Right. Well, those are print on demand books.
I'm pretty sure with 3,000 copies that it went for offset.
Okay, maybe all I know is when I was the place that I have, it's the same place and they're using the same printer. Now I looked at the print quality; they're very good. They're quite solid and they're digital. I didn't know, maybe they were doing offset there, but it's still,
I don't know.
It was a 70-pound paper and like 100-pound cover. And that's what I'm
wondering if maybe, and I could be wrong, because you had that ones that they did for the Liberty debacle.
Yeah,
that was a different printer than what Daphne and JD use, I think. So I think that was offset, but I think the other one might be.
I think the Liberty ones are offset because over 1,000 copies, or even over 500, offset starts becoming cheaper.
Yeah.
And I think, let me open this one.
Crowdfunding ones, I mean, the ones that if you get early ones, they're these guys were
This is digital. This also has the cutest bloody sketch cover on it. That like, oh my god, I love this. But I can't stop showing it. Okay, I'm proud of this. But so what I think is like, for their crowdfunders, they do offset, and then the bigger print runs is of course smaller ones digital, because that makes it worth it.
Yeah.
If you the thing with offset printing is that they make aluminum plates that they etch. So doing that on its own is a lot of money.
Yes.
So that's why offset printing, you got to have at least a layup of like 500, 1,000, 2,000.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And like I'm really glad with the fact that I can get a deal like that on my local printer. But I am looking for another one to do the same kind of thing I'm doing right now, because I love that deal. It means that I can give a lot of revenue to people I publish, as well as afford a bigger print run, and be able to pay for several years.
Right. Yeah. Well, gents, I'm about ready to go because I have sauce to make. This is my Saturday morning. Twice. Let's see. Every month and a half, I do spaghetti sauce for the next, 6 weeks. So yeah, my wife has chopped up the garlic and onions and parsley for me. Very nice of her to do that. So that I've got 2 or 3 hours of sauce making to do.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Awesome.
I just got invited to go to a pub, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm feeling like a drink because the last couple of weeks have been so stressful. I need to enjoy myself.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, it's okay for you to go to a pub. If I went to a pub right now, people would worry I had a problem.
It's after 12. You're fine.
Not here.
Oh, it's still 11.
Oh no, you're still 11:30. Okay, no, it's fine. It's fine because just go for one a little further away. Sorry, in there after 12.
Well, actually, for me, where I am, it's 10:30, so I have to go even further away.
Where are you?
I'm in Louisiana.
Oh, okay, okay. You're in
Central. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just on the western edge of Eastern Standard Time.
Right.
In
my wife's office, she's on Eastern Time, so.
There we go. So just walk out on that side of the building.
Walk into her office and have a drink. I should be okay.
All right, guys, this was great. Like legit. Yes, I had so much fun with you guys today. And we retained a lot.
I didn't say too much.
We did good today. And guys, thank you so much for being here. You two are always welcome to join. Next week, I will not be here to host Sketchy Saturday because I will be at an awesome fantasy festival trying to sell books.
Okay.
So, there will not be any hung on animation either on Thursday because I'll be leaving on Thursday.
Right.
And the week after, I'll be back to start, to restart the shenanigans, make sure that, MarV doesn't ruin the place while I'm gone.
I'll watch him.
That's what I'm scared about. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining.
I enjoyed inviting me.
Very awesome. And
anytime, John. Anytime.
I'm going to roll some last little things, and then we're going to hop out. Take it easy, lovelies.
Bye.
See you next week.
Oh.
Now on Sunday mornings, longtime independent comics creator Randy Zimmerman brings to you a podcast that talks about the lighter and more whimsical side of comics, the fun side of comics. That's right. Sunday Funnies is back Sunday morning, 9 a.m. on the Raging 2 YouTube channel and on certain Facebook pages. Check it out, won't you? Special guests, great talk, and a lot of fun as we work to put the fun back in funny books. See you there.